I'm going to manifest this now. I think Middlesbrough are going to win this championship this season. Boro have finally clicked. Welcome back to our Boro Walk. We're going to talk about that, AZAZ and Solbryn's debut, and preview the Christmas fixtures, who's out of contract in the summer, and we're going to ask Rich and Sean for their FA Cup third round dream tie, if they could care less about it, of course. Welcome back to 20 minutes of Boro Chat. If you haven't yet subscribed and you've just found us, please do so by clicking at the subscribe button. Rich, you're going to win this thing, aren't you?
I'm not getting ahead of myself, to be honest, but we've looked pretty frightening the last few weeks. It's everything we weren't doing at the beginning of the season seems to have now come together, and for the first time, when Oxford scored on Saturday, I thought, that doesn't matter. We're gonna do these here. So,
absolutely. And to be fair to both of you, in the last 15 weeks since we've been doing this, you've both said, we are going to batter someone someday. It will click. It will happen. And oh my goodness, hasn't half clicked, hasn't it, Sean? Callum says, we have well and truly clicked. And Finn says, AZAZ and Latte are better than De Bruyne and Haaland. Yeah, you must have enjoyed your Boro football the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And some of those weeks where we've been saying it's going to click, it's probably looked a little bit derisory when we've said it. But to be fair to Michael Carrick as well, even when some of the fans have wavered, been very calm. He kept saying he can see the performances are there, and he almost knew that this was coming. And at some point when the goals started going in, I think at that top end of the pitch, it's quite remarkable that at the beginning of the season, we were concerned about scoring goals. Now we've got three creative players behind our main striker. Well, actually, two strikers who most clubs would love as their number 9. And I think balancing those out and giving them both time on the pitch, it's just paying dividend. It's been remarkable.
Yeah, the understanding that AZAZ and Latte Lap have now, Rich, is De Bruyne-esque, isn't it? They're not on the same scale, but I get what that poster's saying. Do you?
Yeah, 100%. The understanding just seems there. He seems to know where Latte is going to run, and Latte is making the runs every time AZAZ gets the ball. He's off as soon as AZAZ takes that first touch and gets it out his feet. He's off, and it's confidence. I think AZAZ has looked superb the last few games, building on confidence game by game, and long may it continue. I worry about Doak in January going. That's a bit of a worry for me, if I'm honest, but certainly AZAZ and Latte are flying at the moment.
Yeah. Let's have a look at AZAZ's stats, shall we? Last 6 games for Boro, an assist, a goal, nothing against Coventry, an assist, 2 goals, an assist, 2 goals and 2 assists. I mean, there was some, and I don't think it was on our channel, but I have read it, that was saying there was something wrong with him, Sean, at the start of the season. He wasn't quite the player they thought he'd signed, but he's shut them up, hasn't he?
Yeah, there was, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 looking for a reaction. There was quite some steady sort of reaction from some of his games, insisting that he shouldn't really be playing, he shouldn't be anywhere near the first 11, he's not as quick as we thought, and testament to his character, because I don't care what you say, players know when there's criticism from the fans, they read it, they understand when fans are on the back a little bit, but there's definitely a lot of work going on, I think, in training and behind the scenes. I saw one interview where AZAZ was saying about Doak, who, let's not forget, is only 18, and he was saying that when he makes those runs and sometimes his final ball isn't always on the money, and he had a chat with him and said, look, always pull it back to around that penalty spot area and I'll be there. And I think he's helping other players as well in understanding.
Yeah. Our Plymouth fans actually said it was the worst mistake that their club have ever made, not pushing Villa to meet their demands and stealing them away from you. Rich, another player I want to focus on a little bit is your goalkeeper, who made his debut in the Oxford game, Solbryn. Brian said, please just keep him in. He made a fantastic stop Dieng has had plenty of chances and doesn't inspire me at all. No, Dieng missed the game because it was his birthday. I don't think that was the real reason for it, but he wasn't available for some reason. What did you make of Bryn?
Very good, very composed, and he didn't look out of place, which I think for a goalkeeper is a big thing. And I do agree, he made a massive save at 1-1. Made a real good save at 1-1, and you never know if that goes in. The game could have gone, but I remember saying it after Leeds. He played against Leeds in the Cup earlier in the season, and he looked very composed, very confident. You can see just from little clips of him in them games, he's a really good shot stopper, and he's not afraid. He seems to have that confidence. But again, you've got to look at he's a young lad. Can he do it week after week? And that's where you've got to look at it. That's where Dieng's been. I've started criticising Dieng a bit in recent weeks, and then he pulled two of the best performances out, looking back to his best. So, I mean, against QPR, he kept us in it at times, and it's to have him as a number two and a bit more rotation, and then I'm excited to see where he goes. He signed the new contract, so Carrick obviously believes in him and believes that his future is with us.
Okay. Who starts then in goal against Blackburn and Hull, Sean, for you?
It's an interesting one, really, because in isolation, if you take Dieng out for one game ordinarily, providing he's fit, you'd expect him to go back straight in. But Carrick has got this reputation for allowing players, once they've got that chance and come in and done well, he does keep them in. Edmondson was essentially brought in because we were threadbare with centre-backs, and now people are making their way back and he's keeping his place, and all of a sudden it looks like maybe Matt Clark, if anybody, would make way for somebody else. So it's an interesting one. And of course, we've mentioned in a previous pod that Dieng was someone who maybe needed a kick up the backside, and as Rich alluded to, he did have a good game against QPR, but he has been a bit more sporadic with his form. So if Dieng does come back in, I'm sure Sol will still get some games in the cup. That he tends to give his number two the cup games, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay.
I personally, just to add to that, think he starts on Wednesday night. I think Bryn starts Wednesday night, just because of the point you've just made with Carrick. He normally, if someone takes the chance, he normally sticks by his decision.
All right. Let's see if that materialises then. Let's look at the league table now. Of course, this will have changed before people come into the comments and go, well, it's not an updated league table. We're recording this before that Blackburn game. Sean, I'm going to put it to you now that the five that are in the top five now are going to be the five that we see there at the end of the season. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I'm going to say it, and it might get criticised, but I think Boro, Sheffield United and Leeds are actually the standout, in spite of what the table says at the moment. I just feel we're coming into that period of time without the international break and with a heavy schedule. I think Boro have got a squad that will cope with it, and I think this is where we might come into our own. The other night, the 11 that we put out, considering there's still the likes of Rab Vandenberg, Morris, Hackney, McGree not in that team, I think speaks volumes. And Sunderland fans that may be upset that I don't include them, they played really well. I just don't think they have that depth, and I think they might do what we did a couple of seasons ago, and they might just run out of steam a little bit. That's just the feeling I have with that squad they have at the moment.
Okay. I mean, does it irk you so much, Rich, when you look at that Derby away fixture, for example, which you absolutely dominated and still lost? And there's been so many games, hasn't there, where you have had all of the ball, all of the possession, and just not put it in the back of them. You could be top. Just a couple of shavings of a post. You quite easily be leading this league, couldn't you? Does that bother you somewhat, or are we?
The slow start did worry me, but Carrick said all along it's a long season. It's about where we are at the end, but teams like Derby we should be brushing aside, and other teams around us. This run of games that we've got coming now really interests me, because if we pick maximum points up this week on Wednesday and Saturday, I think Sunderland, Sheffield United and Leeds play each other soon. So one of them's going to drop points. I actually read a Sunderland blog yesterday that said that they should go for Doak in January and take him off us. Not a chance. Absolutely not a chance. He goes anyway. He's going back to Liverpool or the Premier League.
Yeah,
but
all right, let's have a look at those fixtures, shall we? Then, because we've got them. We've got them here. And yes, you are right. On this Friday, of course, Sunderland plays Sheffield United and Burnley plays Sheffield United around Boxing Day. So that's that Leeds game I'm looking forward to. We'll get to that in a minute, though. Yeah, look at these home ties here. Blackburn, Hull, Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday and Burnley. 8 games, 5 of them at home, Sean. So, yeah, you are... There's nothing on here that's scary, is it? Apart from Leeds away.
Absolutely. I think it's a real chance to crank up the pressure on those above us. The Leeds away tie, they'll be looking for a little bit of redemption, albeit it was the League Cup, but we didn't run them over at Ellen Road earlier on in the season, so they won't want that to happen again. But yeah, if we can pick up, as Rich said, maximum points in the next 2 games, all of a sudden we are right on them. And to be fair, those fixtures would normally worry a fan, but for me, Carrick performs even better when he gets to pit his wits against another head coach or a manager in the big games. We beat Leicester twice last season. I think we picked up 4 points off Southampton. I think he relishes those big games.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then long trip to Plymouth for the AZAZ derby, of course, and just before the Wednesday game on Boxing Day. We're going to talk January transfer window very shortly on this podcast, but before we do that, I want to ask you about players leaving in summer, because of course we may have some offers coming in from other clubs for them, and basically the question to you all is, who would you keep and who would you retain quickly? We've got Matt Clark, Dick Steele, Smith and Howson all out of contract. I'll be interested to get your view on Howson in a second. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Doak and Edmondson, the lone players who will be departing as well. So, Rich, come on, you're in charge of the Boro here. You're Gibson. What does he do with these 4 in white here?
I think Matt Clark's a must. I think he deserves another year or 2, to be honest, because to come back from the time he had out and he's put his absolute heart and soul in to get fit. So I think he deserves a contract. I think he's still a first team player and certainly makes us stronger having him there. Dijksteel, very surprised he's still here, if I'm honest, although he has put some good performances in. At time, he seems to be very much a player that he needs a run of 2 or 3 games and he looks back to his best. But when he's just coming on in little bits and bobs, it takes a bit to get going. Tommy Smith is a funny one because I believe he's due back after Christmas. So he's going to have his few months to put his stamp and earn a new contract, I guess. But we haven't really seen a lot of him. Be interesting to see whether he's the same player when he comes back that we saw. Howson can stay forever. We should just give him a lifetimer for me.
Just see what you were going to say there.
Have him cleaning dishes or whatever. just pay him the rest of his. No, but on a serious note, again, it's going to go on form and it's going to depend where we are at the end of the season, I think.
Okay. Sean, do you disagree with anything there?
No, pretty much bang on. I think Matt Clark, the reason they've maybe let it run down a little bit is they'll want to see how he reacts to playing regularly week in, week out, given his injuries and his background, but he's stood up well to it. Again, Dijksteel, we thought he'd move on, but actually when he's come in, he's looked like the kind of fullback that we enjoy utilising. He gets forward a lot. He does scare me sometimes with his defending occasionally, but he's the modern day fullback and he does get up high up the pitch and support in attack. Tommy Smith's a difficult one, great character, excellent pro, but I just wonder whether we've gone beyond that now. I wonder whether he might be the one that is sacrificed. And Howson, yeah, what a legend. He can stop. He can do what he wants, as Rick said.
Okay. I suppose your answers change if you are a Premier League club, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Like Rick said, it would be interesting to see if he'd be interested in stopping with the club in some capacity, even if he wasn't kept on. I don't know whether he would move and keep playing. Again, it depends how Johnny feels, I guess, at the end of the season.
Absolutely. He could have been half. He bleeds red and white, doesn't he? Actually, right. Let's move on. Final question this week is about the FA Cup. Firstly, before I get you to predict it, I'm going to guess there's not a single Boro fan that I could speak to that could care less about the FA Cup this season. Would I be right, Sean?
Yeah, I must admit, it pains me to say it. I do class myself as a bit of a football romantic, but actually, I just don't want a cup run. We've had really good cup runs in the last few years, and it's been great, but not for me. Let's get this league.
Yeah, our Burnley fans and Sheffield United fans says we'll have Arsenal away. They can beat us 3-0 and just get us out of it as quickly as we possibly can, so we can just get out of the league. All right, then. However, let's fix the draw. Rich, what do you want? Who do you want? And home or away?
Small club away. I would love, because I love going to the old grounds, and just the atmosphere in them is just totally different. The smells, the noise, the everything, and it's pumping some money into a club that probably needs it, to be honest, which I think is one thing that the people forget with the FA Cup, that there's a lot of clubs rely on it. So I wouldn't mind that, but again, league has to come first, I think. So it'll be what it'll be for me.
Just not Newport County.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
We'll get you a Kettering or a Wealdstone, shall we? If they get through their tries. Sean.
Sorry,
Sean, your pick, Sean. So,
Hartlepool away.
Not very expansive, you guys, are you? Right. Okay. Let us know in the comments what you think. Right. Good luck then. Double header then for you this week. Blackburn up first, and then of course the game this weekend, which we'll both be reviewing, of course, next week. So enjoy those games, enjoy your football, and thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't yet subscribed, again, you know what to do. Press that button. We love making this content for you, and we'll be here for the remaining whatever it is. That's now 20 odd games of the season. As we march on to Boro's promotion. It's going to happen. You heard it here first. See you next week.